Today I would like to tell you a little bit about personal process and co-creation, because I feel there's a lot of misunderstanding around this issue. Many people think if you talk about co-creation, you have to get as many people as possible in the same room in order for them to do the same thing in the same kind of methodological process together, and in the end you get a result where everyone is happy with it. That of course is not the case. The case is that in order for deep co-creation to happen, you have to allow everyone to develop their own individual potential, but also doing that while synchronizing with the whole group. And to practice this, I feel it's very important that one understands that the individual personal process is always a collective transpersonal process as well. So basically, when talking about co-creation, many people believe it's about bringing a group of people together, putting them in the same room, making the same kind of methodological stuff with them, so that in the end they all have the same result and are happy about that. Well, of course, this is a complete naive notion of what co-creation can and should be about. I believe that co-creation should be about personal processes and about fostering the individual potential of everyone. And you can't do that by letting everyone do the same stuff. So what you actually have to do is you have to allow processes where everyone as an individual can explore their own process as a part of the bigger process, and where they can develop, and we have this nice German word Bildung, they can build themselves in the form of personal growth and development through their own transformative process. And through this they will raise their personal potential. And only if everyone is able to raise their own personal potential, that is when people can come together, synchronize their personal potentials, and something like really deep co-creation can happen and emerge. So, but what do I mean if I talk about personal, or the dynamic between personal and transpersonal processes? Well, actually, I believe that there almost is nothing like a personal process. Every personal process, what we think is a personal process, is always also a transpersonal process. And much more it becomes a transpersonal process if the resonance of what you are processing inside is very high to what is going on outside, of course. So, in a way, co-creation and transpersonal process always means that you find a way of expressing what you are in resonance with, what is happening around you. The truth, I believe, is that there is nothing as a truly personal process. All processes are transpersonal. And if we learn and comprehend how what we feel is our own process, is connected and in resonance with the transpersonal environments we are part of, with our communities, with our environments, then we get a first grasp of what it can mean to transform and co-create the outer world through our inner processes, and vice versa. Because I believe in reality there is no difference between these two. Basically everything I process on the inside will also reflect on the outside, and vice versa. It's a reciprocal process. Many of us make this differentiation between our everyday life and what we would call our emotional, psychological, or even spiritual process. Our everyday life is about our work, about raising our children, about caring for our community, making money, be successful, about love, about relationships, all this kind of stuff. Sort of the dirty, nitty-gritty stuff of everyday's life. And then many people believe apart from that there's something like our emotional, psychological and spiritual processes, and we might go to therapy, or we might do process work, we might engage in prayer or meditation, we might even join groups with a sort of guru or teacher or priest, where we can connect to something which is larger than our everyday. And I believe that if we talk about co-creation, there isn't this differentiation. Basically, what you experience and do and create in your everyday's life is already something of a bigger scheme, is already a co-creation of the environments of the communities you're a part of. So if you prepare food, if you raise your children, if you write a report at work, ask yourself, how is this done in the proper attitude, in a proper way, so that it can be viewed as a meaningful contribution to a larger co-creation? And if you think for yourself that what you are doing right now is not a meaningful contribution, or if you think that the way how you are doing is not contributing to a greater process of co-creation, then please don't do it. Just leave it, because you are co-creating. And in that case, if you think that's not a meaningful contribution, it's not a good contribution, then it has to be exactly the opposite. Then it's a bad contribution, it's a meaningless contribution. Maybe it's a contribution which will hinder and block others' contributions. So whatever you do in your work, in your everyday life, think about it. Is this a meaningful contribution to a greater co-creation process? If it's not, leave it. There's always another option. Actually, there are always two other options. The first option being, you leave your job. You leave what you're doing. You protest against it. You get out of it. You just leave what you're doing in order to contribute your energy, your power, your love, your meaning making, your storytelling, everything which is worth your whole potential at another place to a better cause. That's one thing. Or you realize that the way how things are done at the moment, example given at your work, are not contributing to a good co-creation of this world, then the second option would be you put in the effort to transform the system and the structure, the field, the process in which this work is happening for itself. Of course, that is the bigger challenge, because that means a lot of transformational work for you personally, transpersonally for your community, for your company, for example, the institution you do the work in. So again, if you think that what you are doing in your everyday life is not a meaningful, worthwhile contribution to a larger positive co-creation, you have two options. One option is you leave and look for something different, but you only do that if you have thoroughly and in all honest energy you could have put into tried the second option, which is if you've tried to transform the patterns, the systems, the fields in which this kind of meaningless, not valuable work had to be done, so that in future your work will be a meaningful contribution. If you think about it this way, then co-creation becomes what you do with all your awareness in your everyday life. And in fact, attending yoga classes, meditation session, going on an ayahuasca retreat, engaging in prayer, sitting in silence. All these can be helpful and meaningful techniques to learn this kind of everyday awareness. But please don't separate it from your everyday life, but integrate it in your everyday life. Then it becomes a very valuable endeavor to engage in. Hey, thanks a lot for following my ponderings on this very, very beautiful day on the beach of Norderney on a Sunday afternoon. I hope you enjoyed it, and please subscribe to this channel, to our newsletter, and see you for the next video cast on global co-creation. Bye.